Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, the Vikings are the overwhelming favorite to land J.J. McCarthy. His odds just a couple days ago were plus 100. What does that mean? If you would bet $10 on the Vikings to draft J.J., you would win $10. But now they are the favorite at minus 130 to select J.J. So that means if you would bet $130 on the Vikings to draft him in this upcoming draft, you would actually only win $100. So they are the heavy favorite to land J.J. And then even more juice to this. If you look at any mock draft that has came out over the past couple of days, it has the Vikings drafting J.J. McCarthy. Daniel Jeremiah, his mock draft, J.J. McCarthy. PFF, who did they pick for the Minnesota Vikings? J.J. McCarthy. The 33rd team, former Vikings GM Rick Spielman, who did he have the Vikings taking? J.J. McCarthy. Mel Kiper, who did he have the Vikings taking? J.J. McCarthy. So coming up here in just a second, I'm going to explain to you guys why I truly do believe, even if the Vikings strike out on Drake Maye and they can't trade up to number 2 or number 3, why J.J. McCarthy will work out in Minnesota. That is coming up to you guys just in a second. But before we dive into it, I actually got a challenge from my boss before I walked in the studio today. The most likes we have gotten on a show was 1,368 this month. I want to shatter it. I want to hit 2,000 likes. So if you guys could help me out and help me avoid an awkward meeting with my bosses, drop a like on today's show. What's going on, guys? So the Vikings are the overwhelming favorite to land J.J. McCarthy. So coming up here in just a second, why it makes sense for Minnesota. But first, I want to talk about the biggest X factor when trading for J.J. McCarthy. It would cost significantly less draft capital to trade up for McCarthy instead of Drake Maye. For the biggest reason, if you want Drake Maye, I fully do believe this, you're going to have to trade up to number 2 in this upcoming draft. You are going to have to send Washington or New England an overwhelming offer to help them to move off that number 2 or number 3 pick. And also this, they both plan on drafting a quarterback. So you're not going to have to just send them a fair offer. You're going to have to send them an overwhelming offer where they're sitting there thinking, man, I like these quarterbacks, but do I really love them? And I got Minnesota sending me 3 first-round picks and even more draft capital. I just think the Vikings, you could kind of get a bargain here, by trading up to perhaps the Los Angeles Chargers to draft J.J. McCarthy. And I really do believe, maybe saying to yourself, there's no way this is enough to get this done. I really do believe that the Chargers would accept this deal because you are giving them 11 and 23. This Chargers roster has all types of holes on it, and I think the Chargers could potentially be calling Minnesota, not Minnesota calling Los Angeles, but L.A. calling Minnesota to potentially trade down, and I think the Chargers would be all in on this deal. Main reason why I do believe Los Angeles would be in on this is because they just lost Keenan Allen. They just lost Mike Williams. They need more ammunition on this roster, and they just need more weapons for Justin Herbert. And I know what you're saying. They could take a guy, obviously at number 5. They could take a Brock Bowers or a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze. But I think they just need more of a complete roster instead of just getting that one blue chip guy. Why don't they just get 2 solid prospects at 11 and 23? So I think if the Vikings do trade up to number 5, this is how the draft will play out from everything I'm hearing. Caleb Williams, no doubt, he's going to Chicago. Don't even need to talk about that. Jaden Daniels, I do think with them signing Marcus Mariota, it was kind of an indication that, they're going to lean Jaden Daniels because obviously you want the backup quarterback to have, a similar play style to the starter. So I think that was a slight thought that I had about them going Jaden Daniels. And then I do think if Drake Maye's there for the Patriots, I really do believe even if the Vikings, they're going to have to send them a Godfather offer to get the number 3. Then I think the Cardinals, I think Marvin Harrison would be perfect with Kyler Murray. And then I got, Vikings at number 5 taking J.J. McCarthy. We got more about why I do believe J.J. will work with Minnesota here in a second, but I wanted to get you guys involved on today's show. Would you trade up for J.J. McCarthy? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass. I would do it. I would be all in on trading up for J.J. McCarthy because I would be so scared of him falling or let's just say the Vikings sit there at 11 and they are anticipating him falling into his draft. What if Denver tries to slate up to 8 or trade up to 8 or trade up to 9 and just jump Minnesota? I think if you think McCarthy's going to work, who cares about the picks, man? You have a franchise quarterback. I would do it. I think people get too caught up in, these future these future picks from Minnesota. I mean, the Rams won a Super Bowl by pretty much saying F them picks. So I'd be all in on trading up for JJ. And I got my reasonings why I would trade up for JJ coming to you guys here in just a second. But I want to tell you guys about today's sponsor here on the channel, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys head to prizepicks.com/CONS and use code CONS, we'll hook you guys up with a first deposit match up to $100. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks, and they've got specials for new and returning users alike for March Madness. When you head over to prizepicks.com/CONS, football season may be over, but the action on the hardwood is heating up. Whether it's March Madness or the fight for NBA playoff seeding, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoop knowledge into serious cash. This is the lineup I'm rolling with. I'm taking Caitlin Clark more on her half a point. They got a deal going on right now. Roddy Anderson taking his more on points and rebounds, and then Terrence Shannon from U of I taking his more on his points. But March Madness kicks off tonight with the second set of first 4 games, and you can pick more or less right now. PrizePicks is also giving us a free pick for Caitlin Clark's matchup Saturday. Just select more than half points for Clark and pair it with another winner for 3 times your money. PrizePicks is simple. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get started now, if you haven't already, at prizepicks.com/CONS and get a first-time deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/CONS. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So why JJ McCarthy? Maybe you're asking yourself that. Why does it make sense for Minnesota to trade up and get him? Number one reason on my book is all he does is win. And I understand quarterback wins are not the end-all, be-all when evaluating a quarterback, but I really do believe that it matters. And no matter where JJ's been throughout his career, he has won at the highest level. Back when he was at Nazareth Academy, through his freshman through junior year in high school, he won 26-3. He transferred into IMG, probably one of the best football programs in the country, his senior season. He went 8-0 and won a state championship. Then as a starter at Michigan, he went 27-1. 27-1, and his only loss coming in a game where he actually threw 2 pick sixes against TCU in the college football semifinal when he just turned 20 years old. But JJ, no matter where he's been, he has won. And also this, I think JJ, he can be a face of a franchise. And let me explain myself a little bit because, you may be saying, what does that necessarily mean? I think he's just got the moxie and the aura of a franchise quarterback. And maybe it's just the name, J.J. McCarthy. But the kid's been playing in big-time games ever since he was 14, playing in state championships as he was a sophomore in high school. He was playing in, 7-on-7 championships back when he was in 7th and 8th grade. Obviously then you go to Michigan you go to IMG, you play in big-time games there, playing against some of the top high school competition in the country, go to Michigan, run through the Big Ten throughout his whole career. Just overall, he has lived up to the moment, and he has lived up to being a big-time quarterback for a big-time program already in his career. So that's why I believe, the NFL drama and the NFL kind of how big it is won't really affect him. My third reason for JJ, he can make every single throw. He does have an issue with layering the football. It really does feel like everything's a fastball for JJ McCarthy, so he needs to work on his touch. But the man can throw it all over the lot. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. There is this narrative out there that he can't throw the ball deep. Well, his stats last season on 20-plus yard throws, he was 25 of 46 for 700 yards. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. He can really touch every blade of grass on the football field. He's got a way bigger arm than a lot of people think. He had the second fastest throw of all time at the NFL Scouting Combine, coming at 61 miles an hour. And there's specifically a throw, it was back against TCU in the semifinal where he threw a 50-yard post route, and it was legitimately on a line. I think his arm talent gets undervalued just because Michigan, didn't ask him to throw the football over the lot. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't. But this is my favorite part of his game. He is a gutsy playmaker, and that sometimes gets him in trouble, actually. I mean, the first play against Alabama, he shook off Dallas Turner, made him miss in the backfield, and he was rolling right, and he had nobody open, and he should have just thrown it away. Instead, he tried to force a ball into a tight window, and it was almost intercepted. But this is a stat that I love when evaluating quarterbacks. It's completion percentage out of scrambles this past season. And this doesn't include like boots where like obviously Michigan ran a lot of play action. It doesn't include that. So this is truly just true scrambles for JJ. He was by far the best at 71.4%. See, other quarterbacks aren't even close. He's the only one that actually eclipsed 60% on scramble throws this season. And also, he's just a hell of an athlete, man. Like, his RAS score from this past season was great. I mean, taking a look at his shuttle drill and his 3-cone drill right here at the bottom of your screen, his 3-cone was in the 95th percentile. I mean, he ran it at 6.82, one of the best of all time. He actually came in a lot heavier than a lot of people thought. He came in weighing 219 pounds, which was really solid. He didn't run the 40. He didn't do the bench press, but overall, he's a great athlete. Actually have a cool story. He was dunking a basketball in 8th grade. Just kind of speaks, to his athleticism. But also this with him, the potential of JJ. The kid just turned 21 a couple months ago in January. Like, in terms of all these quarterbacks coming out, he's a class younger than Drake Maye. He's two classes behind Caleb Williams, 3 behind Jaden Daniels, and then also 3 behind guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix. So he's got all types of potential, and he's also just got that it factor and that moxie to him. He has played his best football in the biggest games in college. There's no doubt about that. In those big Ohio State games, when he was 19 years old, think about this. He was 19. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns at Ohio State when the Wolverines were a 7-point underdog. Just kind of speaks to him. He lives up to the moment. I think in big games, we see the best version of J.J. McCarthy. So I'd be all in on drafting him. Hey, maybe you guys disagree with me. You guys can also comment down below. But if you guys made it to the end of today's video, I want to see where the real ones are at. Give me a skull down below in the comment section. Make it look like US Bank Stadium on game day. But that was the latest around J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. Thank you guys so much for watching. Skol Vikes.